Tonight on Y News, Vice President Leni Robredo finally accepts her appointment as co-chairman to the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. 2 of the 3 suicide bombers killed in Sulu identified as Egyptian nationals. The families of the Maguindanao massacre victims hope for justice soon. PAGASA warns water in Angat Dam won't reach maximum level before 2019 ends. And the Quezon City government orders closure of bus garage in EDSA. Good evening. Vice President Leni Robredo accepts the challenge set by President Rodrigo Duterte for her to lead the country's war on drugs by acting as a chairman of the Interagency Committee of Anti-Drugs. Malacanang says the scope of her job is yet to be decided on. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
Kaya tinatanggap ko ang trabaho na binibigay sa akin ng Pangulo.
Vice President Leni Robredo is ready to assume the position of being a co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, or ICAD. In a news conference, VP Robredo acknowledged the warning of the opposition's allies that President Rodrigo Duterte may be setting up a trap. She said, however, she wants to bring changes to the bloody drug war.
Kahit sabihin na natin na ang alok na ito ay pamumulitika lamang at hindi naman talaga ako susundin ng mga ahensya at gagawin nila ang lahat para hindi ako magtagumpay, handa akong tiisin ang lahat ng ito.
President Duterte brought up the challenge following Robredo's series of rants against the government's anti-drug campaign. The executive order that establishes the ICAD does not provide for a co-chairman, which Robredo's camp has questioned. Malacanang, however, insists that Robredo's appointment to the new position is effectively an amendment to the order. Members of the ICAD, including the Philippine National Police, the Justice Department, and the Presidential Communications and Operations Office, have also expressed support for VP Robredo. But questions on the Vice President's position are still hanging. Secretary Salvador Panelo has so far refused to answer them directly, only saying the new post will allow the Vice President to decide whether or not to stop anti-drug police operations.
Pag-uusapan pa nga yung exact scope of her power. Siyempre kailangan kahit kung ako rin si VP Leni, malaman ko the my extent ng power ko, Mr. President. Tinatanggap ko ngayon yung posisyon ko. Pero bigyan pa naman ako ng bird's eye view. Ano bang akin dyan? Pero kailangan antayin muna natin yung dalawa mag-usap.
The palace insists VP Robredo will have access to intelligence reports and other documents pertaining to the anti-drug war.
We will give all the support. Being a member of the cabinet, it behooves all of us to help each other because her success is the success of the cabinet as well as this administration and ultimately the Filipino people.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Senators have expressed support to Vice President Leni Robredo as the co-chairperson of the country's Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. The new task may be risky, but the country's second top leader believes she will succeed. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
Some senators are confident that Vice President Leni Robredo can accomplish her new task as the co-chair of the government's anti-illegal drugs body. According to former Assistant to the President, Senator Christopher Bongo, this is not a bait for her.
Ma'am Leni, handa na kami. We want you to succeed. Kailangan nating patayin yung mga drug lord. Tutulungan ka namin. Basta i-save natin yung mga inosente.
The former chief of the Philippine National Police and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa advises the VP not to implement her policy in fighting illegal drugs softly.
Remember, ang sinalihan niya is war on drugs. At ang kalaban mo dyan ay mga siraulo, ang kalaban mo dyan ay mga malalaking sindikato. So how can you wage a war without fighting? So she has to fight.
2 other senators offered their help to the Vice President. These are Senate President Vicente Soto III, who has authored several drug campaign-related laws, and former PNP Chief Senator Panfilo Lacson.
The Vice President can start with some of the important concerns like prevention and rehabilitation. She can focus on that right away. I am willing to give some very effective ideas that worked before.
Talagang challenge ito. And she needs all the help and we should give it to her. Ako, in my case, I'm willing to share whatever yung modest law enforcement experience ko in my previous life, kung tatawagan ako.
Senator Franklin Drilon, an ally of VP Robredo, admits the job is risky, but the Vice President believes she can do the new task. Senator Drilon asked the public and government agencies to support the VP.
Suportahin natin at ito'y problema na akala ng Pangulo matatapos in 6 months. Ngayon, 3 taon nang nakalipas, nandyan pa rin.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
PAGASA projects that Angat Dam won't reach its maximum water level of 212 meters before the year ends. Meanwhile, the water service interruptions will continue. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA says the country experienced below normal rainfall combined with the effect of El Nino in 2018 until the first quarter of this year. According to weather specialist Benson Estareja, the possible level that Angat Dam may reach is 119 meters and not achieve its 212-meter maximum water level.
Nasa normal pa naman yung water level natin. Pero yung sinasabi natin na normal high water level, yung 110 meters, ay malabo.
Meanwhile, the National Water Resources Board or NWRB says the reduced water allocation for Metro Manila will continue.
Sa ganito pong level at 190 meters ay kaya naman po nating mamanage yan. Kaya lang po magpapatuloy po yung kabawasan allocation po para ito po ay mapabot natin ang summer next year po.
Concessionaires Maynilad and Manila Water continue to implement water service interruption. They ask the public to store water sufficient only until the water supply comes back.
Pag mataas ang level po ng Ipo Dam, iniiksian po natin. Imbis na kunwari ho, ang may area po tayo na 10 hours, pwede pong 8 hours na lang ang kanila pong interruption.
Kung babawasan pa ng National Water Resources Board, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung interruption may be longer.
President Rodrigo Duterte has earlier announced he will use his extraordinary power to solve the country's problem in water supply. The NWRB, meanwhile, says activating deep wells is the fastest way to augment the water supply. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Agriculture Department ensures the public that the African swine fever outbreak in the country can be stopped. However, not only authorities but also local hog raisers must take part in order to achieve such a feat. Rosalicos has more details in this report.
The Department of Agriculture or DA confirms cases of African swine fever or ASF in Caloocan and Malabon cities. These are cities included in a recent report the Philippines has submitted to the World Organization for Animal Health. The paper also includes some cities and municipalities in Pampanga and Bulacan provinces. The DA ensures, however, ASF in the country can be eradicated. This is through stringent measures taken by farmers to contain and prevent the spread of virus, among which is avoiding swill feeding. They must also report to authorities any signs of infection among their pigs.
It can be controlled, it can be managed, and it can be eradicated. So ang sinasabi po natin, yes sir, kapag ka po na-control na natin siya, madali na lang po siyang i-eradicate. Ang sinasabi lang po natin dito, kailangan lang po hindi magkaroon ng chance yung virus na mag-spread.
The Agriculture Department adds consumers must take part by ensuring the meat they buy or consume are from stalls with meat inspection certificate. The DA also reports around 70,000 hogs have been culled since August. However, only 1/3 of those are infected with the ASF virus.
Mabagal po yung pag-spread din ng ASF sa atin. Ang nagiging problema po, yun nga, may mga farmers na hindi nag-surrender ng kanilang mga baboy.
The hog industry has lost billions of pesos because of the ASF outbreak. However, the DA ensures there is enough pork supply for the holiday season. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte led the closure of a bus company garage this morning. The city government will also file charges over violation of an corresponding city or ordinance. Asher Kadapan Jr. reports why.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA discovered last week the alleged illegal operation of a bus terminal in EDSA near the corner of North Avenue in Quezon City. MMDA EDSA Traffic Czar Bong Nebrija said Baliwag Transit and Golden Bee buses were seen dropping off passengers inside the Baliwag Transit Bus Depot.
Ito, nag-operate kami minsan, nakita namin ang daming taxi dito. Actually, we did not know na mayroong terminal dito. So, nakita lang namin ang daming taxi, ang daming UB Express, yung mga bus dito na rin nag-i-stop.
Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte confirms the garage has no permit to operate as a bus terminal.
Fake yung ginagamit nilang papeles para mag-operate dito.
Ito, walang papeles.
Ito ay ginamit nilang papeles yung sa kabila nilang terminal.
The officer in charge of a Baliwag Transit Terminal in Cubao explained they are not using the space as a terminal but only as a drop-off point for passengers. According to MMDA General Manager Jojo Garcia, bus terminals in EDSA are traffic generators. He adds they should have corresponding permits prior to operation.
Pag nag-park dyan, walang sakay dapat. No, kasi yung unloading, pwede mag-load din yan. Ano natin malalaman, mag-ticket sila sa loob, di ba? So ito ay parang isang panloloko sa atin.
Mayor Belmonte plans to thoroughly check the permits and compliance of all other bus terminals in Quezon City. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Original Pinoy music diva Sherin Regis returns to the Wish Bus with another stunning performance. She says this time it feels different. Nina Armilio tells us why.
Wish 1075's roadshow with DJ Alice rolled to Eton Centuries in Quezon City yesterday and featured one of the Philippines' power belters in the person of Sherin Regis. The Cebuana OPM artist surprised the Wishers when she sang on the Wish Bus not only her hit songs but also ASOP Year 1 Grand Final song entry entitled I Will Still Praise You, composed by Rigor J. Arellano of Pampanga. Sherin admits, of all the entries since ASOP Music Festival began in 2012, I Will Still Praise You really moved her.
Nakaka-relate ako sa lyrics na alam ko, ang dami ko pinagdaanan, syempre nagkasakit ako, challenges ko sa buhay, pero alam mo, I still praise Him kahit may hurt and disappointments ako sa buhay.
The pop singer-songwriter explains it gives her a unique feeling whenever she sings a praise song. It's also high time for many to compose and promote songs dedicated to God, even on the airwaves, she adds. When asked if she welcomes an invitation to interpret an ASOP song entry, she said,
Yes, why not? And then magagamit ko kahit saan yung songs. May birit or kahit wala, basta i-feel lang talaga yung song.
Among her future plans is to include a song to uplift the spirit in one of her concerts. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I'm Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. 2 of the 3 suicide bombers killed in Sulu identified as Egyptian nationals. A court resolution on the Maguindanao massacre case may be released on December 22. Several people remain missing after a strong earthquake hit Makilala, Cotabato. 29 victims of food poisoning in Makilala, Cotabato returned to evacuation centers after being discharged from the hospital. And Song About Unrequited Love prevails in Wishcovery Season 3 first weekly finals in November. Good evening. Two of the suicide bombers killed by the military in Sulu yesterday were Egyptian nationals. They were relative to a female bomber that attacked a military camp in Sulu. Dante Amendo has this report.
At around 4:50 yesterday afternoon, the military encountered 3 suspected suicide bombers in Barangay Kan Islam in Danan, Sulu. Authorities said the suspects were riding motorcycles coming from neighboring town Baimbong. The 3 fired at the apprehending military personnel from the 41st Infantry Battalion and the 102nd Infantry Brigade when they were flagged down at a checkpoint. The incident prompted the AFP personnel to retaliate, which caused the death of the 3 suspects. 2 were identified as Abduramil and his son Yusuf, both Egyptian nationals, and Elias Dem, a Filipino. Before the encounter, the AFP received information that the terrorists were about to conduct a suicide bombing mission in Metro Jolo.
Kahapon nga, naging positibo itong operation natin na kung saan nga po as their plan na ipapasok kanila itong IED na ito, targeting itong ating mga military installation o personnel.
The AFP Western Mindanao Command says the 2 Egyptian bombers were among the 7 foreign terrorists who had entered Mindanao to teach bomb making to the Abu Sayyaf group and other local terrorist groups. They were the husband and the son of the female suicide bomber who had attacked the military camp in Sulu.
As per report naman, itong mga previous months na nabanggit po natin, there were 5 or 7 individuals na nagtuturo, nagtitrain sa mga local tourist group dito po sa area ng Western Mindanao Command. Kung kaya't tuloy-tuloy po yung ating monitoring dito.
Authorities recovered a caliber .45 pistol, ammunition, a hand grenade, 2 vests with explosives and triggering devices, identical to the bomb vests used by the suicide bombers during the 2 attacks in Barangay Tanjung in Danan, Sulu last June 28 and September 8. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Zamboanga City.
The country's security and defense forces assured the public there is nothing to worry about following the death of 3 bombers in Sulu and the series of suicide bombings. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Mindanao Command or AFP Westmincom will intensify their security effort after the killing of 3 bombers in Sitio Itawan, Barangay Kan Islam in Danan, Sulu yesterday. AFP Westmincom Commander Lieutenant General Sobihana says part of their intensified security efforts is setting up chalk points, checkpoints and foot patrols, especially in Sulu Province.
I directed all the commanders under Western Mindanao Command to take extra miles to monitor the hostile plans of the different threat groups.
Sobihana says they are not discounting the possibility of retaliatory attacks by members of the terrorist organization in the country after the death of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi in a U.S. force operations in Syria. The Philippine National Police wiped out the public sphere after a series of suicide bombing incidents in the country. PNP spokesperson Police Brigadier General Bernard Banac says PNP and AFP forces are still in control of the situation in Mindanao.
Well, sa ngayon ay mataas na ang level ng ating security doon sa bahaging iyan ng Western Mindanao. At itong nangyari kahapon na enkwentro ng 41st Infantry Battalion ng Philippine Army sa Indanan, Sulu ay patunay ng pinaigting na seguridad na pinapatupad doon.
Authorities say the interception of the 3 suicide bombers foils the planned terrorist attack in Metro Jolo. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
10 years after, the resolution on the Maguindanao massacre case may be released by the Quezon City Regional Trial Court Branch 221 before 2019 ends. Maya Bermudez explains why.
More than 100 individuals accused in the Maguindanao massacre case await the court's verdict before the year ends. Among the primary accused are members of the Ampatuan clan, a powerful and prominent family in Maguindanao province. After 10 years, the victims' families still seek justice.
We
expect a guilty verdict. Ang nag-recant na witnesses are just collaborating witnesses. The main witnesses did not recant. So we believe that it will not affect the outcome of the case.
Under court rules, Quezon City Regional Trial Court Branch 221 has 90 days to resolve the case. The 90-day period will lapse on December 22. The 90-day period will lapse on November 22. Judge Jocelyn Solis Reyes has asked the Supreme Court for a 30-day extension.
Nire-resolve na yung mga pending motions, and I think the resolution or the promulgation of judgment will come not later than December 22, 2019.
It was last month when primary accused Andal Ampaduan Jr. asked to reopen the trial of the case and to halt handing down the court's verdict, but the court did not allow it. May Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
At least 7 persons in earthquake-hit Makilala, Cotabato province remained missing 5 days after the 6.5 magnitude quake that sent people out of their homes, destroyed houses, and damaged infrastructure. According to authorities, rescuers are having a hard time to conduct rescue operations due to the hazards in the area. Janice Anyante has the details in this report.
Several families in Makilala, Cotabato are still hoping to find their missing loved ones, feared to be buried during a landslide that happened in the town last October 31. Anisito Angal, a resident of Barangay Loayon, is considered one of the survivors in the landslide. Anisito and his neighbors were on a break from working on the alternative road when an earthquake followed by a landslide happened. Anisito said they were shocked when the rice field suddenly moved. Then the trees fell down to the road they were constructing. He did not expect that to happen and it really scared him, he added. Anisito's neighbors were able to survive the landslide, but Romel Galacia, a 20-year-old resident, died after a tree fell and hit him. Romel was one of the 21 persons who died in a series of strong earthquakes that struck Mindanao last month. 7 remain missing in Makilala. Some fear they were buried by the landslide. According to Cheryl Orbita, Municipal Administrator of Makilala, rescuers have attempted to conduct search and rescue operations, but there are still hazards in the location.
Grabe ang pagplano, pagpaningkamot, pero dili gyud itugot sa Philbox ug sa MGB na tarugon ang maong landslide kay marag madungagan daw ang among problema. Kung among ipugos labi na ang among area karon diri nga basigi lang og ulan.
Authorities continue to assess the situation in the town of Makilala. Meanwhile, Holy Cross of Davao College suspended their classes today after cracks were found in one of its buildings. According to school officials, they have conducted re-inspection on their buildings, especially the basic education campus where the cracks were found. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue, Makilala, Cotabato.
Donations keep on arriving in earthquake-hit Makilala, North Cotabato, but checkpoints leading to the town continue to operate. Harleen Delgado reports why.
As the residents and evacuees in Makilala, North Cotabato tried to recover in the aftermath of a series of strong earthquakes last month, donations from various individuals, groups, and agencies continue to arrive. Screening and inspection at checkpoints are being implemented to ensure the quality of food donations. This after 29 individuals were hospitalized due to food poisoning. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, the victims complained of abdominal pain, episodes of nausea, vomiting, and bowel movement a few hours after eating donated pastel and egg. After treatment, they are now back in evacuation centers.
Na-discharge na po yung mga na-hospital sa kanila and they're back in the evacuation center safe and sound.
The NDRRMC continues its appeal to donors to ensure safe food packaging and to avoid sending food items that are about to expire.
Hindi naman po natin masisisi ang kung sino man dito sa nangyari. But we will do our best to ensure na wala na pong mangyaring ganon.
Meanwhile, the government will provide additional funds for the restoration of earthquake-hit areas in Mindanao. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana went to the Kidapawan City provincial capital today, together with Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año and Health Secretary Francisco Duque III to meet with local officials and to assess the situation on the ground. Lorenzana says some mayors are now requesting for aid as their calamity funds are depleting. Año adds the government will also release funds for the reclamation sites for those who lost their homes. Even the Philippine National Police have donated 2 million pesos worth of relief goods to Makilala. Relief operations in North Cotabato and Kidapawan City are ongoing. Herlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Four potential hitmakers compete in the first weekly finals this November in the biggest online talent competition in the country, Wishcovery. A song of unrequited love prevailed. Mirasola Bugadil tells us why.
Songs of Love. This is the theme of the original compositions of the four contenders in the Wishcovery Originals first weekly eliminations for the month of November. Wishcovery judges say that pop alternative singer-songwriter Genesis Espera has an artist aura. For them, she has a potential of being a good producer when she sang her composition entitled Ayokong Mawala Ka.
Itong kantang to, yan yung mga kanta nung panahon namin na pag lumabas, parang i-record mo sa sa radyo. Yung, teka, record ko lang. Kasi chill lang.
Although heartbreaking, the judges loved Gunita, written by singing duo The Kasings. They say it's like a Broadway tune with a twist.
Ito ang sinasabi ko when it comes to songwriting, may storyline, may backstory, may ending, lahat nandito na.
Meanwhile, the judges praised alternative rock metal band Candila for their breakup song called Tears.
I hope that you're hearing me, wish that you are the one could wipe away my tears.
Tears by Candila. I love the energy. Yung banda nyo is very tight. You guys play very well together, on beat. Yeah. Yung mga baksakan nyo, talagang on point talaga. Bass players sing in the backup parts.
But ultimately, Carl Christopher Weber's original composition doesn't mean anything. A song about his unrequited love was chosen to be the weekly winner.
Doesn't mean anything to you. Oh, it's not that I don't want you to, but it saved me from a life that's blue.
It could be tighter as far as yung metering, and siguro there could be other words that could replace para mas tight pa siya. But it can only get better. I don't see this song turning sour kung as is lang siya. But it could get sweeter. Sweeter meaning it could be more sumptuous sa pakikinig. This is a tough competition and you really brought the game. You were ready.
Carl Christopher will proceed to the November monthly finals. He has the chance to join Pinil Rojas, the October monthly finals winner, as a grand finalist in the third season of the biggest online talent competition in the country. View the contenders' full performances on the competition's dedicated YouTube channel, Wishcovery. Mirasol Abgadil, UNTV News and Rescue.
Welcome back to Y News. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority supports the proposed establishment of an elevated bike lane beneath the MRT and LRT. However, the agency argues that the proposal needs further study. Joanano tells us why.
A Facebook post made by Ed Lapis is garnering positive feedbacks from netizens. He is suggesting the construction of an elevated bike lane under the MRT and LRT structures and the upcoming road project, the NLEX-SLEX connector. He also mentioned the establishment of an elevated bike lane connected to the pillar beneath the MRT and LRT that must be made of light materials. Similar to a skyway, the proposed elevated bike lane will have an entry and exit ramps with safety features. This is to protect cyclists from the sunlight and heavy rainfall. Lapis also wants to make this exclusive to cyclists while pedestrians and vendors are prohibited. As of now, the social media post has gained more than 29,000 reactions and almost 24,000 shares. A group of cyclists say they are in favor of the proposal.
Napakaganda po nun, hindi lang po para sa cyclist. Makakabawas po ng traffic din kasi ang mga cyclists medyo, lalo na yung mga baguhan, medyo may kahinaan sila sa kalsada. Nagiging cause rin sila ng bahagyang traffic. Kung mayroong elevated na bike lane, napakaganda nun kasi mababawasan yung aksidente, yung bilang ng aksidente ng mga cyclists.
Although the MMDA supports any project that aims to alleviate traffic in Metro Manila such as bike lanes, MMDA EDSA Traffic Chief Edison Bongnabiha argues the elevated bike lane should go through further study since its structural design should be in accordance with the existing structures of the MRT, LRT, and others in EDSA.
We need to see yung current setup natin, the current infrastructure that we have on EDSA. May kita natin yung mga footbridges. Pag dumaan yan, nag-cross yan, because we have a standard height. Para hindi yan tatamaan ng truck, hindi yan tatamaan ng bus. So ngayon, we have a standard height. With that, may kita natin na halos pumapantay na sa MRT. So there's engineering standards that we need to follow in that kind.
The MMDA says this is not the first time an elevated bike lane has been proposed. The agency admits, however, with the existing infrastructures in EDSA, the establishment of an elevated bike lane is a huge challenge for the government. Johanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Health Department says their proposal of imposing additional tax on salty foods in the country is a win-win solution. The DOH adds it spends billions of pesos in treating Filipinos who get sick because of salty foods. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
A Filipino can consume only 2 grams of salt or equivalent to just a pinch per day. According to Health Undersecretary Eric Domingo, more than 2 grams is excessive. As the saying goes, too much of anything is bad for you. Many Filipinos are fond of eating salty foods like shrimp paste and dried fish. The DOH explains the leading cause of Filipinos' death are heart diseases like hypertension and stroke, and salty foods are among the culprits. The kidney is also one of the body organs affected by too much salt consumption.
Kung maging mas conscious tayo sa ating dieta, hindi naman porke masarap at saka kain tayo ng kain, mabuti po sa ating katawan ito. At ang mga pagkain po, lalo na yung pre-packaged at saka processed foods, ingatan po natin kasi karamihan dyan mataas sa asukal, mataas sa asin, o kaya mataas naman sa mantika, sa kolesterol.
The DOH advises the public to be sure to follow the right amount of daily salt consumption. The DOH plans to propose additional tax on salty foods. Just like the approved excise tax on tobacco products and sugar-sweetened beverages. Once approved by Congress, tax collection from salty foods will go to the construction of hospitals and other health facilities.
Kapag naka-earmark siya, madaling masigurado yan. Halimbawa, yung sa tobacco at saka sa alcohol. Talagang 80% niyan napupunta sa PhilHealth, napupunta sa pagpapatayo natin ng mga ospital, pagpapaganda ng ating mga clinic, saka pambili natin ng gamot.
According to the DOH, they can save up to hundreds of billions of pesos yearly if Filipinos don't get sick because of salty foods. As of now, the DOH is studying and crafting the content and the scope of their proposal. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
There are different kinds of taxes that Filipinos pay, and there are a lot of proposed tax measures on the line. But according to a taxation expert, higher taxes does not necessarily mean that the country is progressive. Harleen Delgado reports why.
Many Filipinos still wonder what taxes are implemented in the country. There's the personal income tax, value-added tax, sin tax, road users tax, real property tax, and many more. According to Abrea, a taxation expert, taxes can be considered a factor for a progressive country if they are collected properly.
Dapat batayan siya para masabing progresibo ang isang bansa kapag mas mababa at mas simple ang proseso. Kasi diba, kung sobrang laki ng buwis pero hindi mo naman nakokolekta, then nabuburden or nadi-discourage mo yung mga tao o yung mga korporasyon na magbayad.
In the first half of this year, the Department of Finance noted the slight drop in the Bureau of the Internal Revenue or BIR's collections. But the BIR remains positive. With its reforms such as digitalization, they can still catch up with this year's target of 2.33 trillion pesos. According to Abrea, the Philippines remains to be one of the countries with the highest rates among the Southeast Asian nations. That is why Abrea believes corporate income tax should be lowered to attract foreign investors to the country. When it comes to taxes imposed on products and services, Abrea says the government must provide alternatives for those who will be greatly affected by excise taxes, just like the Health Department's proposal to impose tax on salty products.
Pag sinabi ng gobyernong health measure siya, huwag na tayo masyado mag-project ng malaking koleksyon. Kasi dapat talaga, ang i-aim natin, bumaba yung consumption. Kung makakolekta man tayo, minimal, okay na yun. Anything to do with tax, maingat tayo dapat. Kasi kung mababurden yung taong bayan, walang magbabayad, iiwas lang din sila.
Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. reporting live from Hong Kong. Steph, good evening.
Good evening, Alex. A teenager in Thailand obsessed with video games was found dead after a marathon session lasting several nights. Kathy Maraos explains why.
Piawat Harikun, 17, had broken up from classes towards the end of October, using the free time to stay in his room on multiplayer battle games on his PC. His parents said he would stay up all night, then draw the curtains in the day to continue his fixation with gaming, spending hours on the computer at the home in Udon Thani, northern Thailand. They would take food to his room and urged him to stop, but he refused to cut down on his obsession. Piawat's father, Jaranwit, went to the bedroom on Monday afternoon and found his son collapsed from the computer chair and was slumped against a PC tower on the floor. There was a pile of takeaway boxes on the desk and a bottle of fizzy pop at his feet, while his headphones were resting on top of another computer tower. Medics who examined the body yesterday afternoon said the teenager died from a stroke, which they believe was caused by playing the computer constantly through the night. Jaranwit admitted that his son was a gaming addict and warned other parents not to allow their children to become hooked on the games. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Thailand.
A miniature gecko that is only found on a Puerto Rican island has been saved from extinction thanks to the efforts of the scientific community to ensure its preservation. Nina Armilio has this story.
At about 1.5 inches long, a Manito gecko can fit on your index finger with room to spare. They are nocturnal hunters and hide most of the day. The tiny lizard is named after its home, Manito Island, off the coast of Puerto Rico. The island is managed as a nature preserve. Manito harbors one of the largest seabird nesting colonies in the Caribbean. Despite its rich wildlife, Manito Island was once infested by non-native black rats. The rats preyed upon the gecko and other native animals. The impact of this predation was so significant that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service listed the Manito gecko as endangered in 1982. The service and its partners took action to recover the vulnerable gecko. Puerto Rico Department of Natural and Environmental Resources began a black rat eradication project on Manito Island in 1992. Thanks to these efforts, black rats are no longer found on Manito. The Manito gecko has made a successful recovery. Now, more than 7,600 geckos are found on Manito Island. The resilient lizard joins an exclusive group of native fish and wildlife, those that have faced the brink of extinction and recovered. The Manito gecko is the 55th species in the nation to be removed from the endangered species list due to recovery, and the first native only to Puerto Rico to achieve recovery. The Manito gecko is Puerto Rico's wild success. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
Turkish forces have captured Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's sister in a raid in northern Syria. Meanwhile, a family of U.S. citizens was brutally killed while traveling near the U.S.-Mexico border. Officials suspect that the attack may have been a case of mistaken identity by drug cartels. Jovic Burmas reports why.
In Mexico, 9 U.S. citizens, 3 women and 6 children have been killed in an attack by suspected drug cartel gunmen in northern Mexico. The victims are members of the Lebaron family linked to a breakaway Mormon community that settled in Mexico several decades ago. The victims were traveling in a convoy of vehicles. The security minister said the group could have been targeted accidentally as a result of mistaken identity. Sonora State in northern Mexico is being fought over by 2 rival gangs, La Linea, which has links to the larger Juarez cartel, and Los Chapos, which is part of the Sinaloa cartel. In a tweet, US President Donald Trump described the victims as a group of wonderful family and friends who got caught between 2 vicious drug cartels who were shooting at each other. In Syria, the sister of former Islamic State group leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has been captured in northern Syria. The 65-year-old, named as Rasmia Awad, was detained in a raid on Monday near the town of Azaz. Turkish officials, cited by several media outlets, believe the arrest could yield valuable intelligence about IS. Baghdadi killed himself during a raid by US Special Forces on his compound in northwest Syria last month. His death was hailed as a victory for US President Donald Trump, but critics argue that IS remains a security threat in Syria and elsewhere. In Austria, the oil industry will need about $10.6 billion up until 2040 to keep up with global demand, according to a report released Tuesday by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Its findings were based on the anticipated growth of the world's population from 7.6 billion in 2018 to 9.2 billion in 2040 and on the expected doubling of the world's economy, among other factors. OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Barkindo said that demand for energy in the coming decades would only increase. OPEC estimated that primary energy demand would increase by 25% between 2018 to 2040. The OPEC chief said member countries were committed to making investments to keep consumers supplied, but that they also needed to diversify their economies. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Stephanie C., reporting live from Hong Kong. Scientists prove that having pets at home come with some powerful mental health benefits such as coping with stress, anxiety, and even depression. This report will tell us why.
Having a pet can help people better cope with mental disorders such as depression. According to scientists, we all know that pets doing hilarious things win the internet. But did you know that pets can also be winners for mental health too? Specialist at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, or UNAM, said on Monday that having a companion animal can help overcome some health problems. Hugo Sanchez Castillo, an academic from the psychology department at the UNAM, said physical contact with pets affects the production of endorphins, hormones that create positive emotions which act as powerful analgesics or painkillers. He explained that having a pet helps older people to have better movement patterns, sense of occupation, and general well-being, which results in the activation of their immune system. They usually have a more effective response if they are taking any type of medication, he added. However, he said that if a person suffers from depression, Although a dog can help overcome it, it is essential that there is a strong bond between them, since otherwise the animal is unlikely to contribute. A person with depression has a limited experience of pleasure or anhedonia and interaction with people. So they retract and fall prey to a feeling of loneliness and isolation, feelings of guilt and circulating or repetitive thoughts, he explained. He stressed that it is still necessary that those affected also undergo psychological therapy and, if necessary, medication. Major institutions in human medicine, including Johns Hopkins Medicine, Harvard Medical School, Ookla Health, and the Mayo Clinic, are increasingly recognizing the benefits of pets to human health. This acknowledgement shows that efforts to build and share scientific research on the human-animal bond are also making a difference for our health. Alex Baltazar, UNTV News and Rescue.
There's only 4 days left before a Song of Praise Music Festival stages their 8th grand finals. The composers of the songs that have made it to the finals share how they were able to write their entries, while the interpreters share that singing a praise song is different from their usual gigs. Nina Armilio has more details.
Amid the modern times, a lot of distractions, and the rat race, we remind ourselves to slow down and to ponder. When we get hurt or struggle, we must remember to call God or write and sing a song of praise. Just like what the composers of a Song of Praise Music Festival Year 8 Grand Finals did. They say that creating a song offered to God gives a feeling of relief and peace. At their press conference yesterday, the composers shared the stories of their songs and their ASAP journey.
I used to be agnostic. I didn't believe in churches. Pero when I found out the truth, yun ang nag-inspire sa akin magsulat ng kanta.
This song assures everyone na makakarinig na talikuran man tayo ng mundo, meron tayong Diyos lagi na sandigan natin.
Despite sa mga problema ang nangyayari sa buhay natin, dapat lagi nating alalahanin na may Lord tayong kasama sa mga problema natin.
And inspire them. Tapos use God kasi siya lang naman talagang absolute na answer every time that we're going to experience obstacles.
The interpreters, meanwhile, are now excited to convey the messages of their songs, which for them will surely touch the hearts and minds of anyone who listens.
Nakaka-bless yung mga songs nila. So it's on us to put our best effort sa pag-awit at pag-interpret ng mga songs nila.
Siyempre, iba pa rin yung kakanta ka ng isang awitin na inihahandog mo kay Lord eh.
I have to be honest din na kumbaga minsan nakakalimot tayo dahil sa sobrang busy sa trabaho. So ito yung way ko para to keep me grounded na God is here.
One of the 12 entries will be hailed as the Song of the Year.
As a guide, ang 40% po ay inilalagay sa melody, 40% sa lyrics, and 20% sa audience impact.
The People's Choice Awardee will be based on the accumulated points from the online voting on asaptv.com/poll and power viewing on youtube.com/asaptv or asaptv.com. Online voting will comprise 30% of the total points, while the music video power viewing will comprise 70% of the total points for the People's Choice Award. The voting and power viewing period ends at noon of November 10. One of the singers will be hailed as the best interpreter. There's also the prestigious Brother Eli Soriano's or Best Choice Award. Witness a night of praise and worship on November 10, 7 p.m. at the New Frontier Theater. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
And those are the reasons behind the news this November 6, 2019. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I'm Alex Baltazar, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Kung ito ang pagkakataon para matigil ang patayan ng mga inosente at mapanagot ang kailangang managot, papasanin ko ito. Kaya tinatanggap ko ang trabaho na binibigay sa akin ng Pangulo.
Pag-uusapan pa nga yung exact scope of her power. Siyempre kailangan, kahit kung ako rin si VP Lenny, malaman ko ano ba yung extent ng power ko, Mr. President. Tinatanggap ko ngayon yung posisyon ko. Pero bigyan mo naman ako ng bird's eye view. Ano bang akin dyan? Antayin muna natin yung dalawa mag-usap.
Ma'am Lenny, handa na kami. We want you to succeed. Kailangan nating patayin yung mga drug lord. Tutulungan ka namin. Basta i-save natin yung mga inosente.
Remember, ang sinalihan niya is war on drugs. At ang kalaban mo dyan ay mga siraulo. Ang kalaban mo dyan ay mga malalaking sindikato. So how can you wage a war without fighting? So she has to fight.
We expect a guilty verdict. The recant na witnesses are just collaborating witnesses. The main witnesses did not recant. So we believe that it will not affect the outcome of the case.